So during a meeting on Thursday with different state lawmakers, President Trump made a suggestion that, hey, you know what, maybe it's not the guns that are the problem, despite evidence showing otherwise. No, it's violent video games and movies. Watch.
Look at the internet, because a lot of bad things are happening to young kids and young minds, and their minds are being formed. And we have to do something about maybe what they're seeing and how they're seeing it. And also video games. I'm hearing more and more people say the level of violence on video games is really shaping young people's thoughts.
You hear that? It's the video games. It's the violent video games, man. They are shaping kids' thoughts. But don't worry. Donald Trump has a solution to this problem with video games and movies. Watch.
And then you go the further step, and that's the movies. You see these movies, they're so violent, and yet a kid is able to see the movie if sex isn't involved, but killing is involved. And maybe they have to put a rating system for that. And you get into a whole very complicated, very big deal. But the fact is that you are having movies come out that are so violent with the killing and everything else that maybe that's another thing we're going to have to discuss. And a lot of people are saying it. You have these movies today where you can go and have a child see the movie, and yet it's so violent and so disgusting. So we may have to talk about that also.
It's very complicated. It's a very complicated issue. In fact, nobody knew that the gun situation would be so complicated. Actually, it's sort of simple. We have more guns than anyone else, and we have more gun violence. Look, I'm going to point that out. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But it's like, everybody tells me, like, people are telling me that it's the video games. Really, it's the video games. So maybe we should look at getting some sort of rating system for video games. Well, you're going to be shocked to find out that we have already done this. Oh, you see that? You see that little M in the corner? That is the ESRB rating system that has been on video games for quite some time. So, yeah, rating system. Way ahead of you there, Chief. Hail to the Chief, right? Oh, okay. But look, not that having a rating system even matters, because video games and violent movies, they are not the cause of violence. I'm going to spell it out as simple as I can for the Neanderthals that think that Pac-Man causes violence. Okay? It does not. Numerous studies have shown that video games are not at all related to violence. In fact, there are a lot of different countries that play violent video games. Let me give you an example here. There is Japan. Japan has a lot of video games. Japan plays more video games than we do. South Korea plays way more video games than we do in America. And yet, do they have mass shootings? Absolutely not. See, in America, we have lots of video games. I play video games. I'm a big gamer. I don't go out and shoot people. We have lots of video games, but guess what? We also have a lot of guns. In fact, we have 42% of the world's firearms. The entire world. We have nearly half of them all in the United States. How much of the population do we have? 4.4%. And guess what? We have all the guns. We have all the shootings. I got another chart here for you guys. That's going to show you where we are on video games and gun violence compared to other countries. Take a look. All right. So here you have video game spending, right? So there we are. Yes, we have a lot of video games, but we also have a lot of gun violence. Now, Japan has a lot more video games than we do. And yet, they have a lot less gun violence. I mean, look, Japan and South Korea spend more than we do on video games per capita. And, okay, they play lots of video games, as I said. How many mass shootings do they have? Well, you can see Very little. Now, Japan has roughly about 10 shooting deaths, for the entire year. That's on average. Now, that's out of a population of about 127 million. So, look, we have a bigger population. So, okay, let's be fair and times that by 3. They have about 3 times the population. That is about equal to roughly 30 deaths per year from gun violence. In America, in 2017, we had a total of around 15,000 people killed by a gun. That does not include the number of suicides, which boosts the number up to about 30,000 gun deaths a year. 30 versus 15,000. Again, the Japanese play a lot more video games than we do, and yet they have far less shootings. I wonder if it has to do with the guns. Look, in Japan, you have to be very, very determined to get a gun, right? I mean, look, I always hear, well, I mean, look, a criminal is going to get a gun anyway because criminals don't care about the laws. Well, okay. Well, at least the Japanese really make them work for it. And obviously, it seems to be having some sort of impact. But let me tell you what they do in Japan, in case you're not sure. For one, you've got to attend an all-day class if you want a gun. You got to take a written exam, and you got to pass a shooting range test with at least a 95%. Okay. Not only that, but you've got mental health screenings, you've got drug tests, you've got criminal record. Your criminal record is checked. They look for any links to extremist groups, so they, terrorists, and make sure that you're not a terrorist, which they don't even do here in America. You can be on the terrorist watch list and still have a gun. And the NRA will fight to the death to make sure that you can get that gun. Not only that, but they go and check your relatives. They even talk to people that you work with. And if they find anything that's weird, any red flags, immediately they can say, okay, no, we're not going to give you a gun. Sad day for you. So, not only that, but they ban handguns completely. If you want a gun in Japan, you can get an airsoft rifle or you can get a shotgun. Shotgun works for home defense. You can protect yourself with a shotgun. Unless you're like mowing down hordes of invaders or zombies, you don't need a semi-automatic rifle. Just saying. A shotgun is plenty good to defend your home. Now, the law also restricts the total number of gun stores. In most of Japan's 40 or so prefectures, there can be no more than 3 gun shops. And you can only buy fresh ammunition if you bring back the spent cartridges. So, not only that, but look, cops have to be notified where the ammunition is stored, where the gun is stored. They cannot be put in the same place. They have to be stored separately between lock and key. Cops have to go in and do inspections every year to make sure that you're following those rules. If you're not, or if you're not following those rules, they can take your guns. And of course, you have to get relicensed and recertified every 3 years and do the same thing over again. You're really making them work for it. So yes, if the bad guy's going to get a gun, which does happen in Japan, you're making him go through a lot of hoops to get that gun. The result? 30 shootings. Approximately a year, if you, of course, equate it to our population. Their numbers, 10 shootings a year, roughly. I mean, look, it's a national, enormous tragedy when 15 people are killed in Japan from a mass shooting. We had Vegas that was over 50 people. We just had a school shooting in Parkland, Florida, which took 17 people's lives. Several teachers and a lot of students. So we have a Japan-like tragedy almost once a week. There have so far in America been 18 mass shootings at a school. Just at a school. This is where we're at, man. And look, to give you a quick recap. Less guns, lots of video games, less shootings. That's Japan. Okay? In America, more guns. Yes, still lots of video games, but an astronomical amount of shootings. I wonder if it's guns. I wonder. Again, I'm a gamer. I love my video games, and so when I see these politicians who know absolutely nothing and actually go against actual facts and studies that show that video games do not make you more violent, it kind of pisses me off. If I was a violent person, well, then we'd be in trouble. But I'm not a violent person, and I play video games. So, look, what they're doing is they're taking a real problem and they're offering a fake solution. Don't come after people's video games or come after movies, because that's not the real problem. And we just showed you the numbers. It's the guns. It's the guns. There's no reason to come after the video games and movies. But here's what they do, right? Look, they want to distract from the real issue. The fact that it is the guns. I mean, Wayne LaPierre, he knows. Matt Bevin, governor of Kentucky, wants to ban video games. He knows. Donald Trump probably doesn't know because he's an idiot. But look, it's the guns. And they're using this to distract. And of course, this is a common conservative theme. Oh, let's blame Hollywood. Let's blame the Hollywood movies. I mean, you heard them. Oh, look at that. Terrible violence in the movies. It's so violent. And you get all these kids exposed to all these violent, horrible movies. Where do the movies come? They come from Hollywood. Who do conservatives hate? Hollywood. Hollywood liberals. But look, again, the NRA puts out this propaganda because, again, it's a deflection and it basically will affect gun sales. Liberal Hollywood. Goddamn liberal Hollywood. It's the movies, it's the video games, it's not the guns. Keep buying your guns. That's the only way you're going to be safe. They pay, like the gun manufacturers pay the NRA to put out this garbage. And here's Donald Trump regurgitating talking points without even having a fucking clue about what he's talking about. Let me give you the real facts on this. Villanova University psychologist and researcher Patrick Markey told USA Today that, quote, on the issue of video games and violence, there does not appear to be a link at this time between violent video games and school shootings. And if there is a link, it goes in the opposite direction. So not only that, but you have in 2011, University of Texas economist Michael Ward and two colleagues found that higher rates of video game sales coincided with a drop in crime, especially violent crime. Video games do not cause violence. They do not cause mass shootings. Get it through your heads. It is a talking point to defend the guns. It's a talking point to deflect the responsibility away from the NRA that gets their blood money from the gun manufacturers. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.